Hi, I'm Chase Moak. I'm a Clemson horticulture agent in Sumter and Clarendon County, and today I have
Vicki Bertnolly, and I'm also a Clemson Extension agent, but I'm in Aiken County.
And Vicki. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about some chainsaw safety, and we'll discuss some of the nomenclature with the chainsaws and talk about PPE, which stands for Personal Protective Equipment. And there's been a lot of injuries associated with people actually not wearing the correct PPE, and I believe you have some statistics on it, don't you?
Yeah, the CDC reported that there are more than 36,000 chainsaw injuries per year. And the Tree Care Industry Association reports that in 2016, there were 153 chainsaw-related accidents, and one of them was a fatality.
My goodness. So a lot of these injuries, from what I understand, could have been prevented if proper protective equipment would have been used, or if proper methods would have been used while carrying chainsaws or while operating them, and also having the correct parts on the chainsaw and making sure that they're operating in the manner that they should be.
Right, and it's one of those things that whenever you're going to operate a chainsaw, before you even start, you need to make sure that the saw is in good working order and that you have all of your personal protective equipment and that it is also in good working order.
Right. So say we go to the store like a lot of folks do, and we're looking for some piece of safety equipment that we want to use in our home or in our business. How do we know if that's actually a piece of equipment that's been tested and is proven to be safe?
There's two different ways. So the chainsaw manual, the book that came with the chainsaw, is going to tell you what you need to be doing that's going to be safe. And the second one is going to be the ANSI standards. This is the American National Standards Institute's book.
Okay, so before you go to the store, you have this book which you can access online, I believe, and there are hard copies out there that you can obtain. And you open this book, you look into it, and it actually has standard numbers for these different types of equipment.
Yeah, you're going to see these numbers on the equipment. They're printed on the equipment. Now, they may be small, and you may have to look for them, but they are going to be printed if they match ANSI standards.
Correct. So let's talk about this first thing we have over here, which I believe everybody will recognize.
Those are the helmets.
So we've got a lot of different types of helmets, and there's some ways that we can tell whether those helmets are still good. And I know we were teaching a class a while back, and not many people understood when we asked them how long a helmet was good for.
And the standard, if it's in good condition, 3 to 5 years.
That's if it hasn't been sitting in the back of a truck in the full sun for a long time.
With the ultraviolet rays breaking it down, making the plastic brittle, and it could also make the color of the plastic fade. And whenever you buy these things, they need to be bright, and you kind of need to squish the helmet to make sure it doesn't crack.
Right, kind of put a little stress test on it, so to say.
Yep.
And how about, we've also talked about putting stickers and paint on it as well. And how stickers I usually believe are okay as long as they go on there, but painting it can do what?
The paint can actually degrade the plastic and eat the plastic away, which makes it not safe.
My goodness, so you definitely wouldn't want to do that and take away from something that's already proven to be safe just to make it a different color.
Right.
So we've got our helmets, and also inside the helmets I think it'd be good to talk about as well how you can tell when they were originally made.
There are 2 dials inside. They're small, but there are 2 dials in there, and one of them tells the month and the day, and the other one tells the year. And so we know exactly when that helmet was manufactured and when we need to replace them.
Right, and that's a good thing to look at anytime you may be coming into a new job and you're picking up a helmet that's already been there for a while, or if you're trying to use one in your yard, just double check it and make sure, because you can definitely get hurt real fast if something falls and hits you in the head.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you want to wear a hard hat anytime you're working with something overhead, because whenever you're removing a tree, there could be a vine that's holding a branch, and when you cut that tree, the branch breaks, but the branch falls independently of the tree, and it can definitely hit you in the head.
And talking about things that can happen whenever you're cutting that you don't expect, I think would be a good time to transition to talking about this next piece of PPE, which is safety glasses. And we all know, we've seen it before, you're riding along a fence line and you see a tree growing over a fence. It happens quite a bit. Well, what happens when the rest of that fence goes away and somebody comes in to cut the tree? you end up hitting a piece of metal inside of it.
You said that you had this happen to you, didn't you?
Yes, yeah. Actually, my wife and I, at the first house we ever bought, I was doing some yard work in the back. And I started cutting on the tree, and whenever I did, I ended up hitting a piece of metal. Well, it turned out to be a broadhead that somebody shot from an arrow that actually lodged into the tree.
Oh my goodness.
So you can see how quick something like that could come up and hit your eye, and you want to make sure that you're wearing that proper equipment. So these actually have standard ratings as well.
They do, and they're printed, sometimes they're printed on the lenses, sometimes they're printed on the arms. They're gonna be on the packaging also, and all of that, if you are not purchasing ANSI standard glasses, that means that they are not necessarily safe. And they do make prescription glasses that do meet ANSI standards. So if you've got contacts, you can get prescription glasses. They also, if you're not comfortable with contacts and you want to wear glasses, they do make glasses that fit over your prescription glasses that do meet ANSI standards.
That's a great point. And I think one thing to mention as well is we have a face shield right here, which is never a substitute for wearing eye protection.
Correct. So just because that is on there does not mean that you should not wear your safety goggles.
All right, Vicki, well, moving on from the glasses, let's talk about this next piece of PPE.
And it's hearing protection.
That's right.
And that's one of the things that gets skipped over
all the time.
All the time. And hearing loss actually starts to occur at about 85 decibels. And just to give you an idea of the decibel levels, a whisper is only 30 decibels.
How about that?
And then a conversation like what we're having is about 60 decibels. A chainsaw operates at about 100 decibels. And then a rock concert is about 150 decibels.
Right. So you're actually hitting that threshold sometimes, in situations where you normally wouldn't expect to have hearing loss occur.
Yeah, if you're running a weed eater, if you're running a chainsaw, if you're running any kind of lawn equipment, you're typically above that threshold.
That's correct. So when folks go to the store and look at different types of hearing protection, they'll see on the package what's called an NRR, or a noise reduction rating. And it's important that you pay attention to what rating you're getting, because what happens if you go too high with a rating?
Then you're not going to hear if there's a problem. It's great to protect your hearing, but something that you want to be careful of is not to overprotect.
Right.
Because especially if you're working in the yard with somebody and they're hollering at you, watch out, you're not going to hear them because you've overprotected. And so it does make sense that you want to wear hearing protection to reduce the noise that's coming from your equipment, but you don't want to completely block out all the ambient noise.
That's correct. So it's important to get what you need to be safe and protect your hearing, but you don't want to go so far past that you're bringing all these other problems into the mix.
Right.
All right, so on to what I think is one of the neatest pieces of PPE.
And one of the most important pieces.
You're absolutely correct. So we have here some chaps. And Vicki, do you want to talk a little bit about how these chaps work?
These chaps are really neat. There's triple woven fiber inside these chaps. And what this fiber is meant to do is if the chainsaw actually comes into contact with your legs, the threads are going to wrap up into the running chainsaw, and they're gonna make the chainsaw stop at less than 1 revolution.
It stops on a dime, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's pretty amazing the injuries that it stops from happening just by this small little thing. You wouldn't think this is anything, but it really does. It's one of the best things that you could have while running a chainsaw.
Absolutely. And there's chaps like what these are, and then they also make pants. If you're working maybe all day and it's hard to wear chaps, maybe you want to wear pants. These things are breathable, they're lightweight, they still work just as well as actual chaps do. They're a little bit more expensive, but if you're working in them all day, it's worth it for the comfort, because that's one of the reasons why people don't wear their PPE is because it's uncomfortable and it's hot. And so chainsaw pants are actually breathable, and they're pretty comfortable to wear all day.
That's right. And one of the other things that we hear come up sometimes that people think they're unattractive, but I think these look pretty professional.
These look really great. I mean, I think they're pretty nice.
So let's couple more things. So general maintenance on these things. So if you get them dirty, you need to be able to clean them.
And there's going to be directions on every piece of equipment that you purchase that's going to tell you how to care for that. These chaps have to stay clean. If they get dirty, that they may not work like they're supposed to. Also, if they are damaged, one cut, they're gone. You need to get new equipment. You cannot reuse this stuff once it's been damaged or if it gets extremely dirty, where you just can't clean it anymore. You have to get new equipment.
But I promise you'll be thankful you had them, even if they did get cut.
Yes.
You have to throw them away.
Yes.
So one of the last things, and everybody's seen this before, but it's very important because a lot of folks get struck by vehicles or other accidents may happen. Maybe somebody's dropping a tree and they don't see you over on the other side.
Or even when you're working at night.
Right.
The storm comes through in the middle of the night, they need to start clearing roads, and they're not wearing a vest that has reflective material on it, and it's not bright enough, and they're just not being seen, so they are being struck.
So that's just one simple thing that you can do to kind of make yourself known in the area. Great.
So why don't we go ahead and pull out the chainsaw so that folks can familiarize themselves with the parts of the chainsaw and how to work it properly.
That sounds good. Let's
All right,
take a look.
Let's go. And you know, this is something that is one of the most important pieces, is learning the different parts of the chainsaw.
That's right, because they really do serve a purpose that can potentially save your life in a lot of different situations.
There are.
Let's talk a little bit about how you start a chainsaw first of all. There's some safe ways to start it.
And one of the things that is the most important is that drop starts are not legal. You are not supposed to be doing that. And that's one of the things that we see a lot is you pick up the chainsaw and you kind of jerk it to start it.
Right.
And you're not supposed to do that at all.
And a lot of the injuries that occur are leg injuries, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that we see are, you see somebody drop down a chainsaw, it ends up cutting their leg, or they're not using it properly, and it comes over and cut their leg. And that's mostly for right-handed people, I believe, and you may see it on the other side for left-handed people. So let's talk about this first part, the chain brake.
Okay.
And this chain brake, if we take more than 2 steps, or if we're, wherever you're traveling with this thing, or if you're not going to use it for a few seconds, you can just engage this chain brake. So I believe it's actually back now. So what we do for that is we just kick it forward, and you heard that click, and that now is going to keep this chain from rotating.
And that's the way that this thing works, is that whenever you're running, and if there was a kickback, it would hit your hand.
Throws your hand forward.
And then it would actually make the chain quit rotating.
So there's actually a few different ways that it protects you right there. But an easy thing to do whenever you're taking more than 2 steps or if you're stopping for a second. So what do you want to talk about next?
Let's talk about maybe the throttle lock.
Okay. To be engaged down here at the bottom, everybody knows you put your hand over it, and it's like a little bit of a safety mechanism that whenever you engage this trigger, I guess we could call it, it has to be down in order for the chain to rotate on the bar. So whenever your hand comes off, it can't be operated.
So the chain is not going to rotate.
And you also have this one little piece underneath here that's guarding your right hand.
This is your right hand guard.
That's correct. So one other thing that we want to talk about, and actually you need to check for all the time, and we actually have a good example of one that's broken because they break quite a bit, is the chain catch. And do you want to talk a little bit about how the chain catch works?
Yeah, the way that the chain catch works is that whenever the chain comes off the bar, for whatever reason, there's going to be a hook down here that's going to catch the chain. Now, this one's a great example because you can see that this one is actually broken off. So this needs to be replaced.
And that's pretty common to see them broken off like that.
Because the chain it's rotating very quickly and it's easy to snap off.
That's correct.
But it performed its function, but now it does need to be replaced.
All right, Vicki, so I think we covered quite a few things, simple things that folks can do at home or at work to prevent some accidents from happening. And of course, there are some general maintenance things that you should always pay attention to with your chainsaw, like keeping the chain tight. And I suggest that folks refer to the manuals that accompany their chainsaws for that documentation.
Yep, and you can also find all of the information that we talked about today on ISA's website, and that's the International Society of Arboriculture. And it's really easy to go to. You just search ISA-Arbor and you can find the ANSI standards online.
So good luck, and remember to keep safety first.